everyone, welcome back to another Helm to Tower video. Bungie has given us a preview of what we can expect for the second act of Echoes, which is going to be launching next week. They did a little developer preview stream that showed off some of the activities and some other things that are coming alongside that. Overall, I like these streams. I'll just say out the gate before we get too much into the details. I do like that they do these little streams now, kind of previewing some of the content upcoming like they did for Into the Light. I think these are like fun just to have like the Bungie devs in front of us able to kind of chat and talk about the things they're working on. I know, like, you know, that can be a little scary, and Twitch chat and people on the internet can be kind of shitty, but I appreciate it as somebody who's just likes seeing them being able to have this kind of little celebratory moment to show off the work they've been doing on the game and being recognized for that stuff. So, I appreciate it. I hope they keep doing them. But regardless of that, there's definitely some interesting information shared in this. I think a big thing, which is I think a little bit more broader than the Act 2 of Echoes, was that they announced that starting in Episode 2, so not Act 2, Episode 2 Revenant, which is going to be in October, I believe, around that time, once Echoes ends. That is like the next major story beat that they kind of teased with Final Shape if you played through that, where we will see like Fikrul and Crow are going to be kind of coming back into the limelight, and they're kind of, past and how they've changed and all of that. That's going to be what Revenant is about, and like the Fallen and that stuff. They're going to be shifting up a little bit about how like the story is delivered, because as you know, in episode Echoes so far, they've been kind of still doing a weekly drop of each story beat, and in this first act they basically did 3 weeks of a story drop. It is now going to be when an Act 1 drops, all 3 of those weeks or story worth of content that would have been a weekly drop is now just going to be a full drop in that first week, and so on and so forth. So when Act 2 drops, there'll be another larger story drop. They said they want to experiment and try this due to feedback. A lot of people were asking for these kind of drops rather than the weekly cadence to mix it up and see how it is. I'm definitely curious how they'll do that. I personally think in a world where we could have like, week 1 could be kind of the big story drop, and we can have all the story beats for acts, and then as weeks progress, that's when you can kind of have your loot chases and your farming and things if you want to do that. I wonder if people will be less incentivized to do that because of this. Hey, let me know. I personally think it's an okay way to do this as somebody who is now also going to be, trying to branch out more and maybe play other live games and be involved in those. I personally don't mind the idea of being able to not have to feel like I have to log in every single week to play Destiny 2 all the single time, like it's a job or something, rather than like I can kind of play it here. Now, when I want to do some grinding, I can do it this week when I know I want to log in and do some things. Oh, I know this big story beat or big change and updates are coming to the game with this Act 2, so now I can hop in and see what's going on and see if I'm digging it. So overall, I think I like this. I definitely want to see how this works out for them with this change. I think it's going to be. It seems like people are already looking forward to that change. So we'll definitely have to just wait and see how it actually pans out for sure, because I could see it still being a mixed reception, because I could see a lot of hardcore players being like, there's nothing to do anymore because we burned out on we burned through everything like, in the first 2 or 3 days, and now there's like nothing to do for like 3 weeks, and hey, that's kind of on you, but also like, yeah, I get it. We'll just have to see. They talked about Act 2 dropping next week. We know there's now going to be a new activity dropping next week. It is Echoes Battlegrounds. I know everybody's favorite Battlegrounds. If you've listened to the Helm to Tower podcast, you'll know that like I particularly have not been the biggest fan of Battlegrounds. I think for a while they were pretty fun and a little bit of a mix up because of they are way more ad dense and ad heavy. But I think now that we've gotten so many, like we've gotten Chosen Battlegrounds, the Heist Battlegrounds, PsyOps Battlegrounds, Defiance Battlegrounds, and they've all kind of been the same, where they are kind of reused patrol spaces, but with like a lot more enemies, and there's a lot of reused mechanics in their own little pools, where like Defiance Battlegrounds can kind of all blend together to me because they look so samey and do so many similar mechanics. You're doing so many similar things in those, compared to doing Heist Battlegrounds, where they also feel all very similar, and like it just kind of like bleeds together way more than like, yeah, I know there's been strikes that have been in the game for years and years, so that can be a little bit of a downer having to redo those over and over again, but at least they have more distinct environments and like have more distinct visuals than doing the same stuff over and over again. I think Battlegrounds just in general have not been interesting to me. That's kind of more or less what I'm saying. But they did kind of go over these ones that they are trying to kind of maybe blend the idea of a Battleground more with a Strike, where they have like more bespoke stories going on in these individual moments. And having them be like more unique environments and things like that, because I definitely even saw that a little bit in the gameplay they showed. They didn't show like a ton. I think they showed a little bit of the first one and a little bit of the second one, where like at least it looks like the second one is like a lot of new, and like it looks like a kind of a fully new environment in Nessus, rather than it being like, you know, sort of a lot of like it being like part reused area of a patrol, part sort of new area, but they kind of reuse that new area in other Battlegrounds anyway. So it seems like these will at least be a little bit more like unique environments, potentially with a little bit more unique encounters going from Battleground to Battleground. So I'll have to see for sure. We'll have to see how they drop. I think they said next week both of the two initial Battlegrounds will drop, and then the following week we'll get the third one, I believe is what they said. So we'll have to see how those pan out. I definitely am still a little miffed because I think Battlegrounds have just been overdone, and I would like to see them try and do more different things, because we at least got like, you know, Breach executable and the other one that the name escaped me, Enigma Protocol, in the Act 1. And I generally like those activities. You know, they have some samey stuff from things we've seen in the past, but hey, you're always going to see remixes on things. There's only so much they can do when they have like a broader audience and like a casual audience playing the game for these more basic activities, rather than having to like jump in and do raids. You know what I mean? So like it's always going to be like at a certain scale. So I get that for sure. But yeah, this seemed totally fine. We'll just have to see how the Battlegrounds feel when they get them. They did preview a couple more weapons and also some of the artifact mods. The new weapons they showed were mainly like from the Vex pool, where we have a new solar rocket sidearm coming, so that's going to be definitely one to chase down for sure. You'll get Heel Clip and Incandescent, the popular solar combo that's arisen for sure. I'll be curious to see what else it can get, but yeah, really cool like Vex themed rocket sidearm that's solar, looks cool. There's also an ARC heavy burst pulse rifle that looks pretty good. It has high impact reserves and volt shot. I think they showed that combo. That seems pretty cool. Playing into each other a little bit there. Definitely going to be a fun heavy burst volt shot ARC pulse rifle that I definitely will chase to myself, because I got the heavy burst from the raid, the solar one, and I like it a lot. So that's I think it'd be a fun new archetype for pulses to mess around with. So I like it. The artifact mods they showed were definitely heavily sniper focused. Hey, if you like still hunt gamers, you are going to be eating even more with the rest of this act and into Act 2, because we're going to have these mods for the rest of these acts. We're getting anti-barrier sniper. We're getting I didn't break down every specific thing they do. You'll see them like in a week, so it's fine. And I'm sure plenty of other content creators will have breakdowns of what these all do, but you know, there's one that makes it so your solar sniper precision damage scorches enemies, and then there's also like a more focused, like, you know, hitting continuous shots with the sniper will like give you bonuses and things like that, and it has even more bonuses for like a heavy sniper, so it seems very like Whisper of the Worm kind of focused. So I think Still Hunt and Whisper are going to be even crazier with those artifact mods. So, you know, that's going to be fun stuff for people to check out. They kind of briefly touched on some buffs coming in a mid-episode patch. I'm not going to go over every little thing they said here, because there will be an article at some point, and I'll probably just do a follow-up video going over those articles when that happens. But mainly some of the things they shout out were like, you know, there's going to be some PvE buffs for scout rifles, and specifically aggressive frames, and that also includes the scout that is, oh god, I'm blanking on the name, oh god, Dead Man's Tale. And that's going to be getting some buffs to that, and then also Ariana's Val will also be getting buffs as well, increased damage to, I think, barrier shields and stuff like that. So that'll be pretty fun. Titans, of course, the Titans did come up, as you know, they have been in a weird spot lately. They will be getting buffs to their supers, namely Hammer of Soul and Twilight Arsenal. They didn't get into specifics of what these are. There will be articles later talking about that stuff in more detail, but that's cool that at least stuff is coming, you know, so we'll have to see what that is. Other than that, we got a tiny preview of what the Solstice armor for this year looks like. It was mainly concept art for it, but it looked pretty cool. It definitely looks different than previous years. It has like this, like they kind of look like almost like a jet related, like they're like jet pilots outfits for each of the characters. Like one of them, I think it was the Titan, had like rocket boots, like little like rocket jets on their legs, which looked cool. It was definitely a different vibe from the previous years. So that's cool at least, but you know, it's really hard to get too excited for Solstice, because I think it's even says it in game somewhere that the aerial zone is back, and man, that's like 5-6 years of this aerial zone, and I just don't know if I can really drum up excitement for that personally. But there you have it. That's what we know of Act 2 for Echoes so far. Again, that's going to be next week, a week from now. Shout out to Bungie for doing this preview stream. I enjoyed seeing what's coming, and you know, the idea of, you know, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Battlegrounds, the idea that, you know, in an act, follow-up act to, you know, act 2 or an act 3 can have like a fully new activity, like a battleground tier where we're getting like 3 full new battlegrounds can happen in a single act, is pretty cool. That definitely opens up a lot to what you can expect from like future acts. Like, you know, when we get episode 2 Revenant, we know we're gonna get a new seasonal activity of some kind in the opening weeks, but that means in Act 2 we could get even more stuff like that and more grander things like that. So that's cool. I like that. I will have to just see what Act 3 entails. You know, we know there's some kind of exotic weapon coming at some point that we can get that has not shown its face, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Act 3 is like some kind of new exotic mission or something. That's going to be my guess for me from here on. I was maybe thinking it was going to be this week. You know, I thought originally maybe for Acts we would get like, oh, it's going to be like, you know, maybe like kind of expansions and updates and new areas for the activities we already had, maybe some legend difficulty tier stuff, but the fact that it's like an entirely new activity, it's cool. So that's nice to know for future acts for sure, even if I don't think Battlegrounds are the most exciting. But yeah, that's gonna do it for now. Thanks everyone for watching my Destiny ramble here. I know, you know, the channel is kind of changing. You know, we're unfortunately not really gonna be doing Helm to Tower podcast as it were anymore, which I know might be a little bit disappointing to some, but hey, some of you might prefer this more like, you know, off the cuff, shorter video of me just giving some thoughts on Destiny things. The podcast in the form where we just kind of chat about Destiny stuff might come back in another form in the coming weeks here. It just might not be like a podcast. It might be like streams or us just, me and Cam just hanging out and playing the game. We'll have to figure it out. Still appreciate everyone stopping by, checking out the video. And if you like the channel, you know, feel free to subscribe. We're gonna be talking. I'm still gonna continue covering Destiny here on the channel and giving my thoughts on Destiny because I still really enjoy the game. You know, it's just gonna be a different form here going forward. But thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.